Round two.
Hello. Welcome to the second episode of the MJ Media podcast, starring myself, Matthew, and my good friend, good buddy, good chum, Elliot.
Hello again.
So, in the first episode, it was more of an introductory phase to the pair of us. Now we're going to hit the ground running with some of our topics. Topic number one, as you will have seen in the title of the episode, is My Hero Academia, why we started watching the show. Now, millions and millions of people have started watching My Hero Academia, and they all have their own stories. But in order for us to sort of unpack and decipher our perspectives of it, we need to go back to where it began, really, as well. So I started talking. You always follow up from where I left off.
You introduced me to it, really.
Did I?
Yeah.
I thought you watched it on Netflix first.
I watched the first episode, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think you taught me into some more. I'll carry it through to like the end of the series sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was more I told you I got into it. Or like what's the first episode, and then I think we then sort of came around in the evenings and then caught up with it. I think that's how it sort of started.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Good times. I remember the day me and Elliot were in New Forest.
Yep.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
New Forest. We were wild camping.
Mm-hmm.
And we were mentally preparing ourselves for the wild camp ahead. And after we had a really nice pub lunch and a few beers, you mentioned, I just started watching the show, My Hero Academia. Think you'd really like it. Little did Elliot know.
He was already in it.
That, there was one series out on Netflix at the time. What year was this? I feel like it was 2022, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was 2022. So by that point, Series 5 had just... I think we were in the middle. I can't say for sure. Middle of Series 5, latter half of Series 5 was happening.
Yeah.
I feel like... When was that camping trip? It was the start of the year, wasn't it? Yeah, I think the end of Series 5 had just happened. So I'd seen 5 series worth of My Hero, and there's this person comes along and says, I think you'll like the show. Yes, I like the show. So we started watching it together. I'd seen all 5 series, but I watched up to Series 3 in dub, and then Series 4 and Series 5 I watched in the Japanese, the original recording, the OVA, I believe it's called. And I was really intrigued to see what the dub could be.
Well,
so
you won't give much a choice. I mean, I've always watched dubs on most things. So like I always had the latest releases. He's like, "Hey, watch this, but also it's dubbed." And there's a Natalie kind of going, "It's not Japanese." Like, no.
It's always a situation where like, well, have you watched this? Is it dubbed? No. There's your answer.
Yeah. I'm not lazy at all on that side of things.
Nothing against the OVA. I mean, I still watch OVAs, and it is absolutely fantastic. But to watch it together, we got to watch it dubbed.
Yeah.
And it is fun. It really is.
Yeah.
It is great fun watching the show with you. I remember the first day you came around and started watching it. We watched the first episode of Series 2 together.
Yeah.
And you said to me when we sat down, and I was like, "What do you want from the show? What do you want to explore?" You were like, "I want to explore some of the other characters. I really like that Icy Hot guy."
Yeah.
Just so happens to be in the middle of your screen right now. The Icy Hot guy. Basically,
I'm covering names.
Some of our names. We have favorite characters, but obviously Shoto. Shoto's in the top 3. And you would not believe the perfect timing of that, because obviously Series 2 happens and Icy Hot gets a lot of development as well. I think this is the perfect point to say, if you have not seen My Hero Academia, I'd probably recommend that you watch the first half of this podcast episode, but for the second half, which we'll probably put in a point where we start talking about spoilers.
Okay.
We will say, stop watching, watch the show, come back to us, and then but I mean, it'll be difficult because we're 7 series into the show now.
I think
we're about to watch the final series, so you might already know a lot about it. In which case, carry on. But if you're just you're just getting into My Hero, then we'll give the spoiler warning, So, yeah, and then we carried on. We watched the rest of the show.
Yeah,
I got every reaction out of you that I possibly wanted.
Yeah, let me through a few parts in that series here. They again, oh sweet, or oh that's paid off, or
payoff. Yeah, as well. And we'll get into some of the themes that kept us going. Before I digress any further, how did I find My Hero Academia? Because I found the show when Series 3 was just starting. I'd started university and I was doing a lot of artwork, so I was listening to a lot of music. And you'll find out about me that I love instrumental music. I love orchestrated, I love original soundtracks, just love listening to anything without lyrics. I love the lyrical music in your typical normal genres, but anything orchestrated, anything where you can really connect with the music and hear the narrative through the strings, the sounds, and the choirs and the instruments. It's great. I love it. I could get lost in whole playlists of that. So I stumbled across a song called You Say Run.
I think it's on both our playlists now.
Yeah. And I remember, I'll see if I can find the picture and post it below. I distinctly remember the image of this video was the main character, Izuku Midoriya, in his UA uniform, looking back to the camera with just this vicious stare of determination, surrounded by this whole theatre of people looking down at him. And I was just like, what an odd looking character. He looks like your generic shonen boy. But why does he look so pissed? Why does he look so determined? Then the song came in. You Say Run hit in. I was awakened by listening to it. I was like, this song is amazing. When I listened to it, all I heard was, I have to win.
Yeah.
From the song, I listened to the song. The very definition of it is just like, I'm going to win, and I don't care what it takes. I am going to win.
Yeah, I mean, with Izuku, I mean, the sort of the core focal point of him is maybe there's quite a few quotes from it, but maybe
careful with spoilers here.
Yeah, maybe the first opening scene, like no man is born equal. It's a true statement. And something you can't really run away from. I mean, it's very much true. Like, it is what it is, sort of thing. But I'd like the way in which he will overcome that to then become equal with someone who's stronger than him. Yeah, he's given a quirk in the first place, but the way he thinks about strategy, like how he then respects his power. Whereas you look at Bakugo, who I'd argue is the complete opposite in the first series, where because he's already born with strength already, he doesn't respect it.
Yeah, that's not necessarily. I think that's not necessarily a spoiler. We're pushing the cusp here, but it's not necessarily a spoiler because from the first episode you are introduced to to your main characters, Deku and Bakugo, who are almost polar opposites, but have the same motivations.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because they don't even. You don't really find that out till really late into the season before you even go, oh, hang on, we're on the same side here, sort of thing. It takes forever for them to kind of go, oh, crap. And it's sort of like an interesting evolution in that sense. You know, seeing how one sort of starts off being strategic. The other one sort of learns to become strategic, I guess. One's more a bull in the china shop. Another one, because he's not really had that power already, he's a lot more strategic in his thinking. Like, how will I overcome this thing? How will I overcome that thing, sort of thing. Bakugo, on the other hand, when you first meet him, is not that person. Bakugo is like, I will just blow up something and see what happens.
See, when I watched it, so going back to my attachment to it, I listened to the song. I listened to You Say Run multiple times. Such an inspirational soundtrack, but I could not pinpoint when it would be played. I needed a visualization. Like I needed a scene to play in my head when I heard the song, other than myself, you know. So I started watching the show, and then I was like 2 episodes in, and I was hooked. 2 episodes. Normally, it takes me a while to get into a show, and you know this. Attack on Titan. When we finished watching My Hero Academia after series 5, we're like, we need a new show. You recommended Attack on Titan. We watched that, which became almost I will say is our second favorite show, isn't it?
Yeah.
It took me a while to get into it, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a slow start compared to My Hero Academia. Like, there's a lot of...
My Hero, you just go straight into it. You really do.
Yeah, there's a lot of foundation that Attack on Titan lays down first before we even get into the main cusps of stuff. But My Hero Academia is very much, from the start of episode 1, is very much, this is what we're doing. This is the questions we want to answer. And this is how we're going to do it.
I knew I was destined for a great show. When in the first episode, you think, protagonist is the chosen one. They have all the powers. They just don't know how to use them. But then in the first episode, you realise this Izuku Midoriya, this Deku, your little green-haired crybaby boy, he doesn't have a power. So this is a non-spoiler thing. It is in the first episode. Everyone after the age of 5 years old in this fictitious version of the world gets a superpower, or gets a power, gets an ability, and some people don't. And the main character, Izuku, is one of those people. He's always wanted to be a superhero, because you get abilities after 5 years old, and he wants to use that ability to become a superhero. So when he's told, you're not getting a power, boy, broke him. It did. Did it stop him from chasing his dream?
No.
It did not. It did not. And to me, right there, I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good. His dream is like taken away from him. Episode 1. And then I automatically see, from this point in time, there's 3 series worth of stuff here. There's got to be a story. There's a story here. He's going to pursue his dream, and it's probably not going to go well, but he's going to chase it, and I'm here for that. And then I heard the first You Say Run in the episode, which was the first time he kicked into action. I'm not going to say how. We're probably going to have the spoiler warning coming soon, because I feel me and Elliot are both itching. That he kicks into action with some things, and his code was, I'm not doing this for glory. I'm not doing this to get noticed. I'm doing this to save someone. The activity that they were doing was to get into this academia, this school. My Hero Academia is a school for people who want to use their abilities to become superheroes and superheroines. And there were certain things in this entry activity that you would do that would not get you any points for recommendation. And you will find out why he did it, but he did it in such an inspiring way that when the music hit, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is what at the time I was like, this is my new favorite thing. This is definitely my new favorite thing. I want to keep watching this boy evolve.
I mean, that first scene that I think I've just got onto is that it kind of focuses a lot on his sort of instinct, I guess. Like you see it, you kind of see it in the first episode, the second episode, in the third episode. I think in the third episode it kind of reaches its pinnacle. It kind of like gives you an idea on the first episode. I think second episode then gets evolved some more to the point you're going, oh crap, that's nice. And then I think the third episode is like, oh, this is where we want to go further and kind of drive this instinct a lot harder.
Yeah.
You know, we want to drill right into this instinctual sort of thing, like, because it's framed quite small from the first episode. It's like, oh, that small thing is just a small thing. You know, think much of it. It then gets evolved on some more in the second episode, and then the third episode, it kind of where it hits its pinnacle, and then it kind of begins to explode after that in regards to like the different questions it then asks on that front, and then how the story then evolves from that.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because it's sort of it's the smallest thing that you could just brush over when you kind of like watch the first episode, but once you know that sort of second episode is where it's kind of really brought to the forefront. That kind of natural kind of instinct to sort of, oh, I could do this sort of thing. Yeah.
So what I'm gonna say now is that from this point onwards, spoiler warning.
Yeah.
We're going to start delving deep into some of the My Hero Academia plot points. So we've spoken about some sometimes borderline non-spoiler spoiler stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're interested from what we said, I doubt it. We haven't really sold it that much from what we've said, in my opinion. But if you're interested in a boy without superpowers enrolling in a superpower school and chasing his dreams regardless of the people around him, then go for it. The music, Yuki Hayashi, my favorite, honestly, for 3 years running on Spotify, my favorite composer.
Oh, no.
3 years running, he's been my number one. And I wouldn't change that for a moment. His music is art, beauty, really such good songs. So listen to Yuki Hayashi. If you get inspired to watch the show the same way I did, let me know, because that would be sick. If you listen to the soundtrack before you listen to the show, watch the show, sick. But from here on out, spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Cool.
Yeah.
Spoilers from now on.
Yeah. So
I was so tempted to drop the biggest spoiler there.
Yeah.
I was not gonna do. I wasn't about to do that. Yeah. I cry watching this show. How's that for a spoiler?
Yeah.
I cry. To be fair, it's easier to make me cry now. I am an emotional man. But
it's not a bad thing.
I remember in series 6, us sitting down side by side watching that scene with Midoriya come back to My Hero Academia. Me and you were just like silently weeping. Like,
yeah.
Gonna need to take a break, Elliot.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I think I've said this to you before previously, but I'll sort of say again more so like the way in which Midoriya is framed is a lot different compared to. It's kind of the counter, I'd argue, to Bakugo, or it is the counter to Bakugo, where he's introduced as a hothead who's, you know, definitely more of a fighting sort of person, wants to get into all sorts of stuff. I'd argue he's more the sort of too aggressive, sort of.
But that's just it, isn't it? Yeah.
The thing these days that push to the forefront is like aggression is your main motivator. I would argue, I mean, yes, it is, but
carry on. He's not there. That's technically, you might hear him a lot on this podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, aggression can be good, but again, you got to sort of control. You got to sort of control it. So the thing that counters Midoriya, I guess, is that because Bakugo is such a hothead in the first couple of series, like he almost becomes red-eyed or like a bull chasing red flags.
Yeah.
He becomes irrational in his decisions. He'll blow up things that he hasn't even thought about blowing up, sort of thing. Like he doesn't even think about the sort of arcs of that sort of thing, or like the consequences of blowing up, that sort of thing. But Midoriya, on the other hand, Midoriya has to get aggressive. You can't not deny that aggression is useful, because in the Bakugo and Midoriya fight, he has to be equal to Bakugo in able to even just compete with him. Like he has to be aggressive. He's got to learn that skill of being aggressive.
They learn from each other.
Yeah. But it's just knowing that balance between when is that aggression useful and when it's not. I mean, speaking from a fighting background, like self-defense or stuff, you cannot win a fight if you're not aggressive. You have to be somewhat aggressive if you're gonna have a higher chance of winning. This also speaks to the fact of like someone who's taller than you, someone who's specifically someone who's taller than you. You've got to be bigger than the person who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are not gonna have the capability to even do much.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're completely driven by aggression, you get blindsided. And you'll miss a shot. You'll miss a shot, and you'll miss the target you're after. The benefits of being able to control the aggression is you can be maybe strategically aggressive is probably better. So you can look at the person in front of you. You can know when to sort of direct your aggression. How exactly you do it and where exactly you do it is up to you and what you think is strategically right.
Interesting philosophy. Yeah.
But in those minutes where you're not directing that aggression, is how am I then overcoming this problem? What is someone's strengths? What are their weaknesses? How do I exploit those weaknesses? How do I exploit their strengths? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which you kind of see with Midoriya, where because he wasn't born with strength, because he's earned it through All Might. You see that because even though he's got a quirk, he doesn't use it right until the last minute. In that episode, in the third episode, first time using that quirk is not because he's thinking of using the quirk. He kind of uses it he kind of uses it because it's like, I don't have anything else to do but use my quirk now. And that's that massive that first punch he uses quirk for is I have no other. I've got no other options. I've tried my other options. I've tried strategy. I've tried solving this problem. It's still not working. So
sometimes
now is the time I need to.
Strength comes from within.
Yeah.
This is something I know we really wanted to focus on for this episode. And the quote that resonated with me, no, this world has no superpowers. But when he asks All Might, is it possible to become a superhero, even though I don't have a power or a quirk? And the episode ends there, with All Might turning around and smiling. Like, it's a powerful scene, and it plays into the rest of the story.
Yeah,
almost the entire story. The true strength of our characters comes from their resolve, not from their powers.
Yeah,
their powers cannot be what keeps them going. It isn't. Midoriya's resolve comes from his learning, his friends, and from his determination to do what is right. And when you look at someone like Bakugo, who is driven by his power, he's very much like, I am inherently prodigious. I think that's the word. Like, I am a gift with this. I know I am going to do well, so I don't need to do any better. So when you look at him in that first series where he throws the ball, and he throws the ball really well, like, I can't remember the number, but say for example, say it's like 73 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he throws it, and it's like 73 yards or 73 kilometers or something like that. And everyone's like, whoa! And he's like, yeah, yeah, of course. You go to series 3, and his teacher is just like, you've been here for a while now, throw the ball again. He throws the ball again. He only goes 1 kilometer further. And the teacher's just like, why haven't you improved?
Yeah.
But I'm powerful already. He's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you need to start focusing. And from that moment onwards, when he starts blasting and does what he does, he only knows best, like blast, blast, blast. That entire series 3, and I'll even say in series 2 as well, when he's just like, fight me, fight me, fight me, and everyone else, when they realize the true essence of being a hero and the strength comes from their self-motivation, their core, their heart, not from their bravado and their facade and their show, he starts to snap. He does, not in a bad way. He starts to break, and it, in his belief, causes him to perceive himself as not enough. It's like, I'm capable of achieving all these things, so why aren't I fulfilled? Why am I letting people down? Why do I feel responsible for the utter destruction of my idol's reputation? And for the first ever time, he begins to cry. And I think that was what kept me and you going with the show. Sounds morbid. It does. Like, we like watching young men cry, but the title of this podcast being why we started watching, to go further, why did we continue watching?
Yeah,
you know, when the characters that we saw, just like protagonist who's destined to do good and trademark bully, they don't become those things with the morals that they set in the first episode of the story. They evolve very differently, and everyone becomes so unique, tied to this same moral of, who am I if I cannot be strong in myself without my power?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see. It'd be cool if there was like a episode where like their quirks were erased temporarily, sort of see who they were completely, sort of fundamentally without the quirk. Who were they fundamentally? So they'd gone through their training or auto stuff.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to have had an episode where it's like, who are you fundamentally? What are your flaws? Or sort of stuff. You don't get that, but that's okay. But I think I kind of touched it on the first episode again, sort of like this bravado, sort of masculine sort of thing that we keep getting pushed a minute. I mean, granted, yes, it's useful when it's directed properly.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're kind of creating like sporadic missiles, maybe.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, they're like missiles, no direction. Like granted, all the strength they've got, all the training they've got is useful, but like because they can't communicate properly, they're just roided up sort of rage monsters to a degree. Because they can't communicate properly, they're just sort of struggling. And that's okay. I mean, it is a problem. How to solve that is I would probably say now more than ever is I know there's a bloke I watch, John Lovell, who is a Christian who's ex-military, but he's got an interesting philosophy that I've kind of carried on for quite some time now, where you learn a hard skill, you learn a soft skill.
Yeah.
Hard skill kind of gets you close to, it kind of allows you to be familiar with the beast that you own, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very much sort of Jordan Peterson-esque in regards to like, you've got to be familiar if you want this sort of thing. You can't not deny that he's there. Yeah, you've got to be familiar with him to understand him. But what the soft skill does is the hard skill kind of like evolves how aggressive you can be and all sort of stuff. How much aggression can you then output, and how much can you bring back if you need to, sort of thing. The soft skill, I guess, would be the one where like you learn to sort of you don't so much learn inner peace, but like you learn sort of like, what is your calm state? What is your normal calm state? What are you doing that time? So for my instance, I've been painting miniatures for quite some time now. I'm building characters for D&D. All my sort of soft skills are sort of like, or bushcraft as well as another one, sort of getting outdoors and camping. I kind of consider all those sort of soft skills, and my hard skill being sort of crap is like when I kind of can evolve my aggression, when I can control it, when I can sort of use it, when's the best way to do it, sort of thing. But I'd actually argue my soft skills been more important, because the hard skill's good, but you don't actually use it very often in the grand scheme of things. It's one of those, it's useful to have. It's better to have it and not need it, and need it and not have it. But the soft skill is kind of where my communication skills are coming in. My more sort of mind-based skills are sort of, how am I staying calm? That's kind of where I go. And then granted, there is times where I do slightly lose it.
Me too.
That's my turn. That's when I do lose it. That's my time to sort of maybe apologise, sort of self-assess. Maybe
everyone has a weakness.
Yeah,
that's human.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, sometimes, not all the times. If you think your argument is correct and just, by all means, stand your ground. But if it's not, and you've kind of self-assessed the fact it's not, then just apologize. Sort of say, "Oh, I apologize. My anger got the best of me," sort of thing. But don't be ashamed of your anger.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of it these days, going, "Oh no, you can't be angry. You can't be that." No, you can.
You can.
You can be angry. Don't be ashamed of it.
You can. You just gotta know to take yourself away in these moments. By all means, show to someone like, look, I understand you feel that way, but I clearly am passionate about this, or you've hurt me. I am angry. I am hurt, or I am angry because I stand for this. So instead of making it worse by lashing out, sometimes we do. It's being brave and mature and saying, like, look, I'm going to walk away. Let me be angry.
Yeah.
Let me walk away. Let me have this. Because sometimes staying and being angry with that person does get your point across. I would argue there is a line sometimes that you can cross by keeping on going. Like, understand I'm angry. I do understand you're angry. You keep saying that you're angry. Right? But this is this is where we get back to the focal point of this episode, like why we started watching and why we continued watching, because one, it is about the strength that you have within that you don't need from your powers. Two, it is the skills that you learn to be human as well, not just be a superhero, but be human. And three, it is not shutting yourself away from people.
No.
Now, this is where the My Hero Academia glory comes in, I think. It is a school.
Yeah.
A school has many, many different pupils in it that want the same thing, want other things. As for a more simple term, there's so many people. And in this show, we get to know the story of so many people that you think, why am I learning about this person? And you realise, I know why I'm learning about this person is because they're connected to this main character. And not only that, this main character is connected to them. He is influencing them, so they influence him.
Yeah.
So when eventually in Series 6, he pushes them away because he's thinking, I want to protect them. And then they come back and they're just like, what are you doing? You need us to help you. It reminds us that you can't do it alone.
No.
You can't you can't chase your dream as a singular person. When he said in the first line, one of the first sentences of the show, this is the story of how I became the greatest hero. The fact that towards the end of the show, he said, did I say this is the story of how I became the greatest hero? I meant this is the story of how we became the greatest heroes.
Yeah, I mean, people are only as strong as the groups they got around them, and
that's just it, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I'll caveat that in as well, kind of going, make sure that you hang around with are quality people. Don't just take on a group because they're a group. I hear, I've heard stories while teaching that guys will just sort of walk into a group because they think it's the right thing to do, and turns out that group is just not really their people.
We've had that before.
Yeah, it's like, I think you got to have people in the group who who can criticize you if you're walking out of line, but at the same time you've got to be able to sort of like they've got to be able to encourage you at the same time as well.
I get that.
If they don't hit those marks,
don't shut you out after one strike.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of worked on like a 3-strike rule to a degree.
I get that.
First one is that, okay, right, it's fine, I sort of is what it is. Second one is like, I'm a little bit irritated. Third one is like, right, if you do this, if you step out on again, I'm walking away from you. I'm not wasting my energy on you. Is that harsh? Maybe. Is it what's necessary for me to sort of deal with problems efficiently? Yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah, I get that.
But once that sort of breakaway is kind of done, that breakaway is finished, because I think, yes, you can be strong in a group, granted, but you also do need to be strong individually. Because that group cannot just take all your issues on. Cannot take all, like, there is some part of you that has to take responsibility for some of your own issues. But of course, there is times where maybe the problem is a bit too big, and that's where you got to sort of share stuff. But that's when hopefully by the time you kind of sorted those people out, who are quality people, rather than all those people who are actually just numbers, really. They don't really give you any sort of real fulfillment. That you can't have a proper conversation with them. It's all just surface level. It's like, okay, this is a waste of my time. But if you can have those conversations with deep, it's proper. You can actually hit the important subjects. They're good people. Awesome. If they're not those people, they are a waste of time.
So I will enter my response to the conversation with 2 remarks. I'll speak from the My Hero Academia perspective second, and the first being my own experience.
Yeah.
Because of course, I have had many moments where I think I have to do this alone. This is my problem. I started it. I'm going to finish it. I've always had that mentality, like, I'd start it, I finish it. Whatever.
Yeah,
if I start running this race, I have to be the one to actively finish it. Now, this pushed me away from a lot of people. I am ashamed. I am, but it's still part of me learning. And arguably, I say I became stronger when I realized I need to talk to these people. And it wasn't I need their help. It's I need to talk and explain why I've done what I've done. They need to understand that I'm facing a challenge, a big challenge, and I have to do this alone. I am really struggling, so give me some slack. And every time when I spoke to someone, their response was, for God's sake, why are you doing this by yourself? Why?
Yeah.
Because I need to do this. Why? What have you got to prove? I don't want to be a burden to other people. And almost every time they've said, don't be so ridiculous. You are not a burden. We like you. We love you. And we want to help. This took me a while to understand. And eventually I did get it. Go back to that metaphor of running, halfway through the marathon, you collapse. You're out of stamina, you're out of strength, you're out of reserves. You still want to finish it though. You need people to pick you up off of the floor that love you and trust you and whisper into your ears, keep going. You can do this. Even if for the next kilometer, they're holding you. They're running with you and saying, like, come on, you've been training for months for this. Keep going. And you're like, yeah, okay, cool. And then you keep going. Even if you don't make it to the end, they will be there on the sideline, sitting by your side going, you gave it your best shot. You did really well.
Yeah.
If you did that all alone, you'd be in the middle of the race, on the floor. You won't be able to pick yourself back up. A stranger will pick you up and go, probably better go over there, mate.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting alone, ashamed of what you failed to do. And you will fester in your sadness.
I think it's also, framing it again. So a lot of that's true. Like, there will be a problem that will come in your life that you're there going, I do not have the energy to pick myself up.
Yeah.
I do not. There was a time ages ago where I was just done. And usually I'm pretty motivated. Usually I can get up. Usually I can do stuff.
Yeah.
At this moment in time, I was not that person.
Yeah, me too.
And it wasn't me who's picking myself out at that point. It was somebody else kind of going like, you can get up. You done it before. Just do it again. Get up, get in that cycle again. But like, that only comes with quality people. That doesn't come if you've got. That doesn't come if you've got a bad group. If the group isn't checking up on you, they're not your people.
Yep.
If they haven't even dropped you a message in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, then by that point drop them as well. They've got to have the energy to put that. They've got to have the energy directed at you as much as you got your energy directed at them.
I understand. I do. For me personally, I don't like giving up on people that have major influence over me and have meant something to me in my life. I don't, because the second they give me kindness, that they really speak to me and make me happy, they're part of my life. And I can't, because I think I love people so much that I want them to do well, and I get comfort in knowing that they do well, that they're happy, that they're thriving. And even if it is just a message saying like, I'm having the time of my life, or yeah, I'm happy, what have you done today? Nothing, and I feel great.
Yeah.
Sometimes a message is great. Or, hey, where you been for the last 2 weeks? Sorry, I've just been doing this, I've been quite busy. I've not been myself, but yeah, I'm happy. I just like to know that people are okay. I don't care if they ignore me for a month, but I do appreciate knowing how they are.
Oh yeah,
I think effort to communicate and see how I am is different. I don't. If people communicate and ask me how I am, I love them even more for it.
Yeah, I mean,
I do, but I don't love them. You know, that's unfair to say. I love them even more, but you know, like, I really appreciate them asking me how I am because it's kind. However, even if they don't do that, I still think that they're a kind person if they're in my life. Now, if they do ill intent to me, and if they obviously insult me to my face or this, that, and the other, it's different. That is just like, oh, you're not part of my life then. And rarely have there ever been people like that in my life. Rarely. I would say 0 to none. All people that have been in my life have been there for good reason, and I love them all for it. So I will take every experience of that going forward and cherish it. So there's no reason to ever be resentful to anyone for anything that they've done. We've really digressed from my area here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Oh well, I think that's still quite relevant to the show.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, which also proves that when we take apart a lot of stuff, we always have done. It's sort of what we enjoy, sort of thing. Just sort of talking stuff out, sort of see what happens. See where directions go. I mean, we're having conversations before about just how our conversations generally go.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll just hit a subject thinking, oh, I guess this is where it's going now. That's sort of fun, that the bit you don't really anticipate.
Yeah, and that's what will make this unique. Well, kinda.
Yeah.
I'll get back to because we were speaking about our experience with groups and people. So Midoriya gets into school and he's surrounded by all these faces. In the first series, we don't know who they are. We really almost couldn't care. And then you start to learn who they are. You learn about Uraraka first, then you learn about Ida next, and then you start learning about all of the other characters. You learn briefly about Todoroki. Who else? I mean, Froppy and Mineta. You briefly learn about because they spend some time with Izuku in the first series, and you're like, you got a girl who's got the power of frog, and you got a boy with just purple pus balls on his head, who is a pervert. And you're just like, well, these characters are kind of,
yeah. I think,
but then you get to series 2, and it focuses on their development at the same time as Midoriya's.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. They only develop once at the end of series 1, where Midoriya, again, his instinct is to go in front.
Yeah.
Is to stand up for what sort of right sort of thing. Like, I touched on it briefly just a minute ago. So like, we're sort of introduced to sort of Midoriya's instinct of like not thinking when he does it, when he goes and does something, but just does it. Not in the fact of, I I think the best thing I describe is when he first goes out and tries to help Bakugo.
Yeah.
And it's also the point where All Might sort of kind of he realizes the fact that he hasn't been standing up to his own philosophies. Which is interesting again as a teacher. Like, you can't just say to someone, "Oh, I'm your person of authority because we're all older than you." It's like, you can't do that because the kid doesn't listen. You have to become the person who lives by that philosophy. Otherwise, the kid kind of goes, "Oh, okay." Instinctively, they're going, "I can respect you," sort of thing. That's why I've kind of got my most the most response out of a kid when I'm sort of being able to prove I am that person and also showing it and all that sort of stuff. But you kind of see All Might kind of go, "Oh crap, I've been shouting all this stuff," like going, "Oh, I do good all the time," all that sort of stuff. But then you find out he doesn't really.
Yeah.
And Midoriya is the first person in his actions to kind of call All Might out and kind of go, "No, you still run by the same rules as the heroes. Like, you get
You're
paid.
Not above us.
Yeah. You get paid as a hero and all that sort of stuff. You still got ads and papers and merchandise and stuff. You're still very much the same hero as everybody else." I think what Midoriya does in the second episode, and it begins to sort of accelerate over the season, is the ability to do good because it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
You find out most of the heroes that in this society are just doing it because there's an ad. There's like a sponsor deal in it. There's some money in it. It's like, well, no, you've lost the point. You lost your point of your philosophy in the first place.
Yeah.
Hero Killer is a great example of that.
I know Stain's one of your favourite
characters. Yeah, Hero Killer was the first time where the Hero Society is there going,
it's one of your favourite arcs, isn't it? The Hero Killer arc.
Because it's the first time where the society itself is called out for all its core value. It's like, you're not heroes. You don't do it because you don't do it for the right. You don't do it because you're.
You don't do it for the right reasons. You do it for an ad deal. You do it for show.
Yeah.
And then Series 6 point is proven.
Yeah.
When the villains basically win, and the whole country is just thrown into death and pure carnage and destruction, and all of the heroes that are doing it for show and for money, they throw the towel in.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I'm a failure. I should never have been a hero. I am not brave enough for this. Goodbye." And they leave the country in ruin, and everyone is just like, "How could you?"
Yeah.
And again, I think, it really should have been. I think this really should have been the title of our episode. True strength comes from within, not from the surface.
Yeah.
That should have been our title of the episode, because I feel like this has become our main talk point now.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, you can get paid all the money in the world.
Yeah.
But if your core value isn't hold true, then you're gonna break it. I don't know. If you're running by money, you are so screwed. Because if someone's gonna bribe you out of
money, can't buy happiness.
Not even happiness. If money's gonna buy you out of not doing the right thing, then you are just as corrupt as anyone else.
That's just it. And then to go on the other perspective as well, the good thing about this series that we later discover is that you see all these children learn this and evolve. That Uraraka said that she does it for money. I'm a hero for money because I want to give my parents wealth and fortune. And then she later realizes, it's not why I should be doing this.
Yeah.
I should be doing this to protect others.
Yeah.
She gets inspired by Deku. She gets inspired because she has feelings for him. Like, I love Deku. I think I love Deku. And then she later realizes, why do I love Deku? I don't love him just because he's attractive.
No.
I love him because he's the best example of the new generation of heroes. I want to be like him. I love who he wants to be, and I want to be by his side when he comes that. So I will follow in his footsteps as well. And she does, and that reaches its pinnacle in series 6 when she steps up for him and says he is more of a hero than any of us right now, and we are ignoring him, banishing him, because you're scared. You're scared that the villains are going to kill you because they want Midoriya. But do you not realize that he is protecting us more than any of us have ever done in this place? And he's just a child. He is a kid protecting grown adults that say, throw him to the lions if it means I survive another day.
It means I'm safe.
He's a kid. Like, grow up.
I mean, it's, again, it sort of speaks a lot on society. It's like, we kind of hold people to sort of, they'll protect us. The rules will protect us. It's like, no, they won't. Like,
they won't. No,
like the rules only work till after the fact. But in the fact, that's what's on you. If self-defense, for example, the rules don't. If someone's going to come and hit you, they're going to come hit you. If you look weak, you sound weak, you have a certain opinion, you don't have a certain opinion, you even look a certain way. If someone wants to cause you harm, they're going to cause you harm. So
there are people like that in this world.
Yeah,
that'll bring me to my next point.
Yeah, but like it's your responsibility at that time to either, is it right to walk away from this? Is the fight worth it? Or is it not? If it is worth it, then damn well stand your ground. If it isn't worth it, or if you think the odds are slightly in their favour, either try and negotiate a way out of it, kind of, without sort of like without sacrificing morality in the process, or if you can just walk away safely, then do so. If you're called a name, it's not the worst thing that can happen to you. From experience, like, and the kids that I've been teaching a lot, it's like, but my name's, I've been called a name, sort of thing. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, how much harm has it really caused you? Have you walked away from the situation alive? Yeah, okay. Being alive is the most,
it's the biggest privilege that you can ever be bestowed.
Yeah, being alive is the most important thing.
Breathing
is the biggest gift, sort of thing. So like, take a name. If someone will call you names, it's just one of those things. If it's a group of people calling you a name, push back on it. Don't just sort of like sit there and sort of I'll take a name calling because it's easier. No, also try and push back on it if you can. But if someone is gonna challenge you directly, don't hold back. I made a mistake years and years ago of sort of like holding back for too long, and in the end, it kind of gave me more harm. Far more harm than good, because at the time we were told, people will apologise to you to after. I was like, no, they won't. They won't. They'll either apologise for theatre, but they won't really apologise. So it's on you. It's on you for them to gain respect from you, and if that means giving them a few bruises, as equally as they're giving you a few bruises, and that's it. But it's on you, and then the rules come after the fact. So if you've worked within the rules, then okay.
It's definitely been times where I wanted to lash out.
Yeah.
I never have. I think the only time I ever lashed out at someone was when I was a kid and I was young, which I was learning. That doesn't really count. But there's been some people in my life, mainly in secondary school, where they said something, or they just looked at me and they've done something, and I've just imagined beating them up.
It's not bad thing.
No, it's not. It's not. I wouldn't say that they are bad people. I wouldn't. they've most likely changed into better people now, but back then they were questionable to other people, and I was always told that people should not treat you that way. If it's not, if you don't feel confident to speak up, which I didn't, then
neither
again,
yeah.
you need to rely on other people. You need
don't leave.
But my retort to that then is you shouldn't rely on other people all the time. Yes, your strength comes from within.
Yeah.
But in secondary school, I had no inner strength.
Yeah.
And I needed to grow that. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have no inner strength, if you don't have anything at all to dig deep on, that's when you need to really get help from others to tell you how to find that strength.
Yeah, that's the one there. That's the one. Yeah. Because more you got to sort of develop that strength. Like, people have got to encourage it out of you. I think is what I'm after. To then sort of work that sort of friction, I guess, for lack of a better description. But yeah, because I think there is a thing that, like, if you don't, you'll pushover, sort of. If you could become a pushover, if you don't act quick enough straight away. So, you've got to encourage that strength out of somebody, but at the same time, they've also got to be able to sort of hold their own, because if someone on your left shoulder is the strong one, sort of thing, the person who's giving you issues is going to recognise that they're the stronger person and still retaliate to you because you're the easier target.
Yeah.
If this second person on your left shoulder can then encourage you to then build your strength up, both of you are in our position of strength, and this sort of person who's going to give you friction ain't going to give you much friction. If you're both as equally strong as each other, they're not going to pick a hard fight. If 2-on-1 is not really a fight you want to be involved in. But
muscular versus Midoriya.
Yeah. Muscular.
I think that's the best comparison for what you're supposed to
Yeah.
He is beating him up because he can, because he likes it. You're not putting up a fight, but you're standing back up and you think you can stand. This is entertaining. You think you're going to do well, and he just beats him within an inch of his life. It's a harrowing scene. It really is. When he fights back and goes, "Was that supposed to hurt?"
Yeah.
And he's way out of his league. He's doing everything that his gut is telling him to do, that he knows is right, but he's still being beat up. He's still being bullied and demeaned. And even then, in that moment, he was pushing himself to his limit. He was still going to lose. And in his what he thought was his final moments, he cried out into the dark, "I've let you down," to all the people that he really loves. "Mum, I'm sorry, I've let you down. All night, I've let you down. Everyone at Class 1A, I've let you down." He thinks he's going to die. And what keeps him going? What makes him find his inner strength? Someone else. Not himself.
No.
He dug deep to his innermost thing inside, his innermost thing, his inner, his heartstrings, his chords. Wasn't enough. The voice of a little boy standing up for him, saying, "Let him go. Let him go." I was just the metaphor of that scene being the only scene in the entire show where he says 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
If you think about it, he was psyching himself up. That's it. That's all I need. He gets back up. The strength for someone, because it's shown in, it's very bravado how they show it. It's just like, "Oh, the strength for someone else. I'm super powerful." But the representation to real life is great, because when you've got nothing else left, someone else cries out into the dark. It's just like, to the people beating you up.
But I always
stop it.
I always find
leave them alone. Leave her alone. Leave them alone.
But I always find, speaking from my own experience, that sort of neck of the woods, you know, when you've reached your limits, when you're done, you know, you're exhausted, sort of stuff. If someone's there to pick you up for whatever reason, I don't know how to describe it, for whatever reason, but like, once you've been picked up on that first one, you then realise that you can go a lot further than you did last time around.
Yeah.
And then if you reach your limit again, and again someone is there to kind of go, oh, hang on, you can still do it, man. You can still do it. But it's almost like breaking down a wall to a degree. It's almost the best way I can describe like a video game. Probably the best way to sort of visualize it. You've got your standard health bar, and then one that's driven down to the sort of lowest it is. You got that friend who encourages you,
inspiration,
and then that health bar increases.
Yeah.
So you can dig deeper again on your own if you need to, sort of thing. And then you may again reach that point again, and again there's someone there lucky enough that's around to sort of help you, and that health bar again increases, and you got more strength that you can then call upon. You know, just sort of like
your energy.
Yeah. It's such a...
That's not my hero at all.
yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's the only way I can visualize it. But yeah.
No, I get that, and that brings me on to my next topic of the people around you matter, and that's why we like the show so much, because again, just like I can be a hero when my inner strength is better than my outer. I can be a hero when I realize what it is to be human, and that it's okay to fail, and that it's okay to feel certain ways. I can be a hero when I let the people around me help me, and so long as I help the people around me as well. Flip side, what you said as well, when you're with the wrong people.
Wrong people.
The villains of the show, which at first, when I started watching it, were nothing special to me. I was just like, they're villains. They're literally there to be the opposing force of the heroes. I'm here to see the dynamic, the three things that we spoke about with the heroes. I'm here to see that. And I love that. Boy, how wrong was I?
Yeah.
When the show keeps on going, and everyone kept on saying, like, the villain's arc, when you get to the villain arc of the show, it really kicks off for them. I'm like, does it though? Does it? Because they're all immature. But even then, looking back on that, it just, like, no, to be fair, knowing what we know now, we'll give him a name. Shigaraki was in the wrong group. He leaned on the wrong people, and it brought out the worst in him.
Yeah.
And because he stayed with these wrong people, he found absolute joy in being the worst of himself. When he was, one of the most terrifying scenes for me, for Shigaraki, wasn't when he leveled a city. It was because that was nightmare fuel. It was when he had his awakening.
Yeah.
When he started to, when he just wasn't a little boy throwing tantrums. He was the next epitome of evil.
Yeah.
And when he realized, I can use this power to destroy everything that I hate, which in his head was, I've been told that anyone that is anything linked to anything that I originally hate, which is family and love, they must die. They must just be ended. And when he realized that, and he realized he could do that, all of his humanity, which I hope, no spoilers in the comments because we haven't seen the end of the manga, and we're anime watcher only. We don't know what's going to happen in series 8. I hope Shigaraki has a shred of humanity left. Doesn't look like he does. Pardon me, but in that moment when he almost killed Redestro, he limps up to him bleeding with a sadistic look on his face, and he goes, "Forgot why we were fighting again." And then he goes to kill him. Like, why were we doing this again?
Yeah.
That for me shook me to my core. I was like, you don't know why you're doing this, but you like it. This is you. You really like doing this, and you don't care why. You don't. There's no motivation other than your inner strength, which comes from the worst in you, which I don't believe that a shonen show could achieve.
No.
Because shonen villains, from what I have seen, have literally been, I want to do this bad thing. No, you're not going to do this bad thing. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. Here's my powerful form. Turns into powerful form. You can't stop me. Beats the hero. I am beaten. Let me get this more powerful technique or form to beat you. Impossible. Villain is destroyed. You know, it's always been that way for shonen. Well, the like classic old shonen. So when that came along in My Hero, and they really sold that message of like, Shigaraki did find that it was his origin, it was his inner strength, but because he was with the wrong people, he found his inner strength for all of the wrong reasons, and that made him into the leader of the Paranormal Liberation Front, which for me, the end of Series 5 was the most terrifying end to a series. Honestly, I was just like, I honestly don't know how the heroes are going to beat this. I don't. When Series 6 started, I was like, this is going too well. So when Shigaraki eventually entered the fray in Series 6, and the death counter started going, but for heroes, I was like, well, there you go. Well, oh, jeez.
I want to sort of speak to real world context just briefly. So, like, there's a sort of a talk a minute, sort of the empathetic villain sort of thing. And it sort of,
I know where you're going with this.
It sort of speaks to, like, I mean, it kind of speaks to, like, people have got their own problems sort of thing, granted. But the thing that I want to kind of make clear is you can have all the problems you have, but as soon as you lay hands on somebody, it's on your own head, be it. Like, do not let someone's problems impact you. If they're going to throw hands at you for someone else's problems, on their head be it. If you win the fight, again, awesome. If they win the fight, that's just unlucky. But like, don't let someone with their own issues impact you. Try and help them out if they give you the opportunity to. But if they don't give the opportunity, if they don't give you the opportunity, and they just go straight for, I'm going to throw hands because I am da da da. It's like, no, you're not going to throw hands. I will decide to sort of deal with you as is necessary, sort of thing. Because I kind of get slightly scared of the idea of, like, if someone's walking down the street and they see someone, it's like, they're going to rob me because they're poor. And it's like, no. It's like, but if you're at knife point, or if you're being threatened with all that stuff because someone's poor, someone's weak, or whatever context, chances are they get paralysed in the idea of this sort of moral sort of game. It's like, no, if someone's going to threaten you, or someone's going to throw hands at you, it doesn't matter what their situation is, you have to be on the ready to sort of go for it. And then sort their situation out later on. But don't be paralysed by someone else's hard times if they're going to start throwing hands at you, sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that. Some people are young in the mind to get that concept, and I will argue that Shigaraki was very much like that. He's never grown up.
No.
And the moment he grew up was when it was too late, you know? And some people are brought into this world who are always told that you're doing the wrong thing, and then that pushes them to do the wrong thing, which is a lot of the villains in that show are unfortunately fairly tragic. Whereas let's take Endeavor, for example. his overwhelming, burning passion to be the best hero in the world.
Endeavor's interesting.
Oh, I would argue that that's the story for another the podcast episode. Because the Todoroki family is a lot to unpack. My goodness. To put a gist of it, I will say again why we continue to watch the show for Endeavor, because we saw him as like the stereotypical mean hero. Because there's always one. There's always one for the main characters. Like, I'm powerful, you need to earn my respect. And eventually you're like, not bad, kid. But Endeavor was always just like, nah, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You're not. And then when he realizes that, it's kind of too late. When he realizes that what he's been doing, he's been so driven by this desire of his to seek his inner potential, that the real beauty of his life, the people around him, his family, he caused them a lot of pain. And for one person in particular, it turned them into a monster.
Yeah.
And that was the single most terrifying moment of Series 6. And that's saying, I mean, that's saying a lot, because the moment Shigaraki leveled the city, I was thinking, oh no, we're so bummed. But Darby, his speech, and how he basically was trying to destroy his father.
Yeah.
He was saying, like, this is what you are, this is what you've done to me, reap what you sow. And in that moment, Endeavor was like, I was so busy focusing on my dream and my goals that I didn't even burden a second into seeing if you were okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton you can unpack just Endeavor's story. There's a whole different, there's like 3 or 4 different avenues you can go down just with that one character. Just in how complex, in which, outwardly he's doing the right thing.
To be fair, he's always been a hero. He's always saved people.
Yeah,
but his motivations were corrupt.
I don't even think his motivations were corrupt. I think, like, the reason he's here in the first place is to provide for his family, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But in the process of going too hard, he actually then lost what was most important sort of thing, and then acted out, and then did, other stuff, and then sort of sacrificed himself in the process of trying to do something good. If you get me from, you outwardly told there, and then in the first one, heroes are paid very, very well.
Yeah.
And that's all and good again, but Endeavor's that perfect example of, like, you can be paid a lot, but if you're not looking after your family, or not taking care of your other half or anything like that, then you're to be honest, you're as equal to a villain as a, like, yeah, he's doing the right thing, but he's still kind of a villain behind closed doors. You could call it psychological villain. Definitely physical.
Yeah.
And maybe emotional, maybe, if you're pushing it slightly. Because he drives himself too crazy in the idea of money and providing for his family, that in the fact he actually double-edged sword, he then does his family harm and doesn't look after them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would definitely be episode for the second one. For the third one, hang on.
Well, in the next episode, we kind of want to talk about how the class of 1A, the 1A classroom, each and every one of those characters. I would say we're going to unpack every character, but our favorite characters, how they evolved, and how they developed. And then the next one, the third My Hero entry, we want to talk about how all of the sideline characters matter as well. So we'll talk about Endeavour a little bit more as well. Still feel like that we haven't strayed too far from our main consensus here, which is good. No. All of these reasons are why we loved this show so much, and as we continue to watch it, the love just stockpiled. It's the best way I can think about it is like it's a upside down pyramid. You start on such a simple concept, like, is it possible that I can be a superhero without a power? And then with each other episode, 2 bricks, 3 bricks, 4 bricks. So by the time it gets to series 7, last episode, it's like 60, 80 bricks long. All these characters that you're caring for, all of these motivations that you know as what gets them through it all, like how Midoriya could then turn around to all of the other previous wielders of One For All, and he could look them in the face and go, your method of killing Shigaraki is not right. Why? Because it's not me. That's not what I do. You look at a villain and I see a scared little boy. Why? Because that's what he is, and I know my inner strength is telling me to save him, and that's what I'm going to do. And they all were like, God damn, we chose the right boy. And even in series 5, when he lost control, which I was really scared for, when I thought something was happening with his power linked to All For One, and he was getting controlled by him with Black Whip. And you realise Black Whip went out of control because he lost control of his emotions. And the only way that he could got control of his emotions, he trusted one of his old rivals to help him. And when he had the conversation with the previous wielder, another one, it's just like, remember, the true strength does not come from your head, it comes from your heart. Keep your emotions intact. That's it. Keep your emotions in touch with your heart. As long as you keep your emotions straight, so as long as you never lose yourself, keep your motivations, your inner strength intact, then the power comes. And then in series 6, series 6, when he loses his emotions and he becomes like a monster, and then that's when he's about to lose his power. Like, there you go. Point proven. So don't lose control, otherwise something bad's gonna happen. You're allowed to have emotional moments, but like if you lose yourself in those emotions to the point that you become something else, then it might have a negative repercussion. Luckily he didn't. It didn't, because he had influence on other people, and then they came in to save him, i.e. Bakugo jumping in front of him. I remember having to walk away from the TV episode there when Bakugo threw himself in front of the blades and they impaled Bakugo instead. I was just like, not okay. That was not nice. Didn't like that. Again, why we love this show is that characters that we hated at the start, we grew to care for. Exponentially cared for. It's because we realised the journey they were going through. It was touching.
I definitely sort of enjoying Bakugo and Todoroki sort of in that their sort of journeys and their complexes is sort of interesting. But yeah, no, sure, but like you know, to be able to direct yourself properly, sort of like you can't just be emotional. You've got to be functional. So you'll be functional and emotional-ish. And be able to communicate. The communication and emotion is a bit of a double-edged sword, but I could probably get into that in regards to the Uraraka. breakdown.
Yes, which I know you want to talk about next episode.
Yeah. Because there's a lot to be said on regards to like, we could tell you that these three that you've learned so far, but if the environment isn't right for these three to,
if you imagine if you flip the switch,
if the environment isn't right for you to do any of those, then you've only got the third pillar, which is functional, and then functional can only lead into sometimes aggression and over-aggression,
which Ida almost succumbed to as well. If you think about it, if Ida did not have Midoriya, Todoroki to come and help him, then he probably would have died.
Yeah, he would have.
And two,
blindsided.
Yeah, two, he probably would have gone down a darker path. He probably would have become a villain. You hurt my brother, I'm going to hurt you. And then he'd probably lose control. But Midoriya came in and basically reminded him, like, yo, stop it. Stop it. But if just an interesting perspective, if you have like a My Hero Academia what if, and you had the big three, to be fair, there are two big threes actually. If you have, let's say for better term, Uraraka, Izuku, and Ida, if they were in worse settings and if they become villains, if they were in worse settings, they probably would have become villains. If Shigaraki, Darby, and what's her face? Himakatoga, that's it.
Yeah.
If they were in better settings, they would have become heroes.
I don't know. I mean,
Shigaraki was inspired by finding out that his nan was a hero and he wanted to become a hero. If his father turned around and said yes, he would have. Himiko Toga, she found out in Series 7, if people were more kind to me, if people gave me the light of day, I would have used my power to save people. I would have used it to give blood to other people. Darby, if he wasn't so obsessively driven by his father, he probably would have got his quirk under control. And if his family were functional, because they're not, they're so dysfunctional, he probably would have become a hero. Those three would have become heroes if they weren't so screwed up as children. Likewise, if Uraraka was abused by her parents, she would have become a hero / a villain for the wrong reasons, so driven by fame and popularity, and then it would have got to her head. Ida would have gone on a rampage after his brother would have died. Midoriya is a really interesting one. If he was told that he couldn't become a hero, and if All Might turned around and said, no, you can't become a hero, and I'm going to make sure that you don't. And if he was shut down by his mum, shut down by everyone in the school, I don't know. And that's, you know what? Even saying that out loud, I'm still actually not sure if he would.
The only logic I could place it in it is
maybe
you kind of
All for One instead.
No, I wouldn't even go there. I would probably go like we're always told that Deku is kind of intelligent. I would probably kind of go here, going away with like the maybe the hero core, like the engineering core sort of thing. I would probably say if he was to go with the villain arc, he'd be like the anti-Iron Man, maybe. Like he's very sort of, his brain's kind of his main weapon to a degree. So if you were to turn that completely on his head, I would probably say you're probably looking at sort of like a Iron Man-esque sort of.
I get that.
Man sort of thing.
There is a series that I briefly watched when I started watching My Hero Academia, around about when Series 3 was halfway through its run and I was halfway through Series 2. There was a comic series on YouTube called Villain Deku. And if I can find it, I will link it at the bottom of this episode because I liked it. It is a what if. It's if I think he was still inspired by All Might, but All for One came along before All Might and started having more of an influence on Midoriya than All Might did. So he ended up joining the League of Villains. I think that was... I don't know what else happened. I can't remember what happened to Deku and what quirk, and like you guys that understand, have seen Villain Deku, you got to help me here in the comments, because I haven't seen it in ages, but it was such an interesting concept to me at the time. Like, what if the hero had different circumstances and became a villain? What would happen? And if now looking at it from a Series 7 perspective, it's totally possible. It's the people that you're surrounded by. It's your upbringing. And if the true you is shunned and ignored and detested and rejected all your life, to the point that you're always by yourself, and then when people do eventually pick you up, and then the wrong people, yes, you're going to walk down the wrong path. You are.
Yeah.
It's like it's like Megamind, isn't it? He was literally born in a prison, and the only people that gave him the light of day were criminals.
Yeah.
And because he was different, and because he was from a prison, no one gave him the light of day. So he thought, I'm going to be noticed and loved if I am a villain. And then when he realized he got what he wanted, he finally got what he wanted, he was like, I'm not fulfilled because I'm still lonely. And people don't love me. People fear me. People don't love me. And I mean, that's another topic for maybe cinema when we get to that. But he eventually does become who he was always meant to be, a hero. And that gets him the love and the attention that he's always wanted.
Yeah, I think a slight caveat to that, almost to a degree. Like, you've got to be able to sort of take criticism to it. Like, you've got to know yourself. You've got to sort of be able to sort of,
I'd say, feedback, less criticism.
Yeah, sort of that neck of the woods. Like, if you see yourself as a victim, you are going to be a victim. And you will become weak and angry. I probably very much almost went down that path.
Me too. Almost went down that path as well.
You know, if you see yourself as a victim, you are just going to crash and burn.
You'll always be one. It's everyone else's fault, not mine.
Yeah, so being able to sort of like take criticism, know what's real, what's not, know how things are viewed, you know, be able to sort of criticize people around you openly and not be tired of that, oh, you're being criticized, you're criticizing me, sort of thing. Then you're in a better state of mind. I think then you're in a better state to do stuff. You know, I've been labelled with sort of certain things, and yeah, they're crap at the time, but I'm all the better for it. It's just necessary sometimes to kind of get the hard stuff out of the way. You know, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, sort of thing. You know, you could look at sort of bad times. Like, oh, why happened to me, sort of thing. It's like, it doesn't just happen to you. We kind of get this sort of, I think that, again, social media has something to say for it, where you kind of get this sort of like focused entirely on you, like what happened to you, sort of thing. I kind of learned over time that, you know, it isn't just me who's dealing with issues; it's someone else as well. And if I can offer help with someone who's dealing with those same issues, awesome. You know, I'm not the first. I certainly won't be the last. So it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility now to help those guys who are now dealing with issues.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is, the youth right now are dealing with a two-stage war, in the fact of they've got physical sort of problems, physical bullying, and they've got internet bullying. But we both got we both got a taste of that growing up.
Yeah.
But like all the rules are set in place. It's like the rules aren't going to help you. They're going to still find you in school and they're still going to beat you up.
Yeah.
Or they're still going to find a way to get you online, even with the rules in place. They don't care. Like it's you've got to try and develop a strong mind.
The dichotomy of good and evil.
Yeah. Like you've got to try and develop a strong mind because they're fine. A war on two fronts sort of thing, and we just dismiss it all, and but the rules don't help.
Which is, again, and I think this is almost coming to a rounding conclusion here. Why we absorbed this show so much?
Yeah,
it for all the reasons above that we've discussed. I think this is why. No, it's not. I think I know. This is why we love this show so much. It spoke to us on a fundamental lesson of experience, and it almost tailored to our past.
Yeah, I think so,
of growing up, because it's a school setting, and that's always nostalgic when you see a school setting. Very much like Harry Potter. Everyone sees he's a little boy growing up in a school. It's nostalgic. It's a nostalgic. Everyone. Well, not to be fair, unfortunately, not everyone has been to school. But most people have been to school, and it's an upbringing. You see these characters grow in terms of a narrative perspective. Of course, these characters are going to grow and learn. They are in a school. The school is the very definition of we learn and grow. If it was on the battlefield, it probably would have made a little less sense. I'm going to become a hero, which is why I'm really excited for Vigilantes, because they are going to learn out on the battlefield. But it's the school element, and we learned. They learned, and the three things is true strength comes from within, your inner strength. It's okay to learn how to be human and make mistakes. Make sure that you're with the right people. You give, they'll give. And we've seen what happens when you're with the wrong people. You can become the worst version of yourself, and you will most likely lose yourself and not even realize it. And then that sort of is again summarized by some people, some forces out there will not give in until they see you break. And that is where the first three come in. Even if it is a person that wants to see you break, or if it is something happening, if it is a constant, if it is an event, if it is a thing, if it may be consistently bad weather, like you're trying to, I don't know, make a big clay sculpture out in the garden and you can't because the weather has been awful for a month, and you're like, why does this always happen? Why is the weather so bad? How can I go? That's a really weird example, but you kind of get what I'm saying there. It doesn't have to be a person that is causing you harm or temper and anger. It is a thing in your life, and it gets in your way, but it is not going to always remain in your way so long as this, and this are in the right place.
Like always try your best to sort of choose the good decision, and that may in choosing the good decision, you may in fact push some guys away. Maybe those guys who weren't right for you, sort of thing.
And then you realise that later. Why did you walk away?
In the hard times, just try best to try and make the best decision, or the good decision, or something like that. And you're gonna make mistakes because you're human, but try and make the best decision you can at a time of whatever environment you're in.
I completely agree. I think that's a very good way to round this off, actually. And why we like the show so much, why we continue to watch, and why we are eagerly waiting Series 8 of My Hero Academia, My Hero Academia Vigilante Series 1 as well, and why we will support, endorse, and publicise any other My Hero Academia spin-off that the author decides to create. And I think we will be comparing things to this show a lot through this series.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel, I know we're going to compare it to that. There's a few things that I wanted to compare Attack on Titan to My Hero as well, in terms of a story perspective. Because sometimes the Attack on Titan story is borderline perfect. It's genius. It's such a commentary on the world, whereas My Hero is more of a less of a commentary, but more of a a spiritual, I will find this.
Yeah.
There will be someone and something in the show that I like, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, anyway, no, it's more hopeful in this context. Yeah.
Anyways, I think that is where we will round episode 2 to an end, and that has been going on for almost an hour and 3/4.
Yeah,
that's a long time. So, what can you expect for the second episode? Because this is the second episode. Yeah. What can you expect for the third episode? You can expect us to talk about Class 1A and how the characters have developed. We're going to talk about Izuku Midoriya, Deku first.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Katsuki Bakugo second. We will talk about Ochako Uraraka third.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start talking about some other members of Class 1A as well. Mainly our other favourites that we have. Cannot wait to talk about the Tail Man. He's had so much character development. Oh my god.
Yeah.
If Tailman wasn't in the show, then there's no argument about it. I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
That was mean.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll have this moment. Please tell me he has this moment. He discovers maybe it was the tail I made with friends along the way. That was the truth.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyways, unless you have any further comments, I think we'll end it there.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So stay tuned, guys. We will see you in the next one.
Yeah. See you on YouTube.
Bye.